Live from deep in an underground bunker in East Tennessee, this is America's premier mortgage field services expert, Paul Williams.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of Foreclosurepedia podcast. It's the 25th of January, 1710 hours Eastern Daylight Time. The big rolling information out there right now, and coming right on the heels of the past 2 days of podcasts that we've been rolling out, pertaining to Jay Goscinski. That's Jay Goscinski of Michigan Realty Solutions. And, his nefarious, his less than honorable interactions with Eric Miller. Eric Miller, the executive director of the National Association of Mortgage Field Services regime, ladies and gentlemen. We all know now the fraud that over the past 2 days everybody has been hearing about. Is we're talking close to $500,000, $500,000, which Jay Goscinski has refused to pay contractors for services rendered upon clients' properties. The bulk of those is upon Altisource properties. So I'm just kind of at a loss here. Eric Miller had stated, and this was last year when Foreclosurepedia broke the story that Altisource had never provided the letters which Goscinski and the National Association of Mortgage Field Services regime had relied upon for Jay Goscinski's admission into the NAMPS offender members, list. Those letters were fraudulent. In fact, the Associate General Counsel of Altisource, Robert Bridges, confirmed in writing that letter never existed. Altisource actually reached out to NAMPS questioning that. Miller backed up into a corner and stated at that point in time, because of the public outrage, the public outcries, that if there were any issues whatsoever, then NAMPS was going to pull the plug on Goscinski. And where are we today? Let me tell you where we're at today. Approaching $500,000 of fraud, and Eric Miller is still refusing. Eric Miller, the executive director of the NAMPS regime, Adriana Ferrello-Fernandez, the vice president of the NAMPS regime, and the mouthpiece of the Ferrello Group down there in Miami-Dade, both of these people know precisely what is going on with Jay Goscinski, and yet they continue to protect him. Now, Eric Miller is in possession of a plethora of Excel spreadsheets listing the names, dates, addresses, loan numbers, services rendered, everything that Goscinski is continuing to refuse to pay upon. Jay Goscinski is financially insolvent, and I submit this to my listening audience. I submit this to the Foreclosurepedia Nation. That if Eric Miller and Adriana Ferrello-Fernandez continue to allow Jay Goscinski to parade his troop of fraud around and amongst the mortgage field services industry, that both Miller and Ferrello-Fernandez, that is, are complicit with that which Jay Goscinski is perpetrating upon members of labor. They have the ability, they meaning Miller and Ferrello-Fernandez, have the ability to remove Goscinski's membership, to remove Goscinski's ability to solicit members of labor to work for him under the name, under the logo of the NAMPS regime. And they refuse to conduct ethics investigations. Eric Miller is a fucking liar. Eric Miller told the presidential sponsor of the NAMPS Fraud Fest 2014 in Orlando, amongst other people, and that's to the tune of $20,000. Let me tell you what $20,000 buys you with Eric Miller. Not a goddamn thing other than a fucking lie. Because Miller said he would address the Goscinski matter if anything came up. It's just like Heather Berghorst. Heather Berghorst, Eric Miller's way too close friend, and whether that's under the sheets or not, I don't know because I didn't see it. But Eric Miller and Adriana Ferrello Fernandez protected Heather Berghorst for years. For over a year and a half, I submitted information to Eric Miller that Heather Berghorst was involved in perpetrating fraud and committing atrocities against members of labor. Neither Miller nor Ferrello Fernandez did shit. In fact, Heather Berghorst has completed her second bankruptcy, was sued in federal court based upon allegations of embezzlement, fraud, and larceny. That federal court, the judge ordered that Berghorst begin making payments to a member of labor. Fifth Third Bank has sued her for willful and malicious injury, and more. And yet more members of labor's cases, their litigation, are now streaming through federal courts in the state of Michigan. What did Miller do? What did Adriana Ferrello Fernandez do? Nothing. In fact, Heather Berghorst and her I don't know, I can't call him a husband, it just makes my skin crawl, Doug Berghorst. They're both still members in good standing. They are still officially offender members of the National Association of Mortgage Field Services regime. Carol Boyd, bronze level contributor to the National Association of Mortgage Field Services regime. Same one who perpetrated the fraud upon members of labor vis-a-vis the VRM contracts. On the VA contract, everybody remembers that. She's now, you're going to love this one, now back in action, committing the same fraud. What's Miller's opinion on that? What is Adriana Ferrello Fernandez's opinion on that? I don't know, because you can't ever get them to answer a goddamn question. Myself personally, I believe that the long reign of this financial terrorist organization of the NAMPS regime needs to be addressed. We now have reports that Chris Crandall up there at National Field Network involved in cocaine, knocking up, getting pregnant staffers, interfering with an engagement. Look, this isn't my information that I just cooked up somewhere. This is an active employee at NFM. They've lost their RMS contract, Reverse Mortgage Solutions. This coming direct from that actively employed employee up there. I mean, you can't make up shit like this. Now, with specificity to Adriana Ferrello Fernandez, I can understand her turning a blind eye, because for quite some time, the Cubano culture down in Miami-Dade has been one of, how shall we say, carrying on the legacy of the cocaine cowboys. We all remember the 80s down there. No one can forget the horrific crimes and violence. You know, but now when you start to tie Miami, New Jersey, that entire I-95 corridor, I got to start asking some questions. At what point in time does law enforcement become involved in this? Now, I don't know what Adriana Ferrella Fernandez specifically is doing or not doing. I don't know. But what I do know is that a tremendous amount of cocaine comes in from southern Florida, and apparently a tremendous amount of cocaine is being consumed in the state of New Jersey. At what point in time do we say that it is a problem to have narcotics involved in the financial sector? I mean, what do we need? Do we need a body count? You know? Because with specificity to the term discoloration that is actually mold, we're actually starting to see that. We're actually starting to see that when these homes continue to flip without the addendums documenting the fact, the clear and present danger of mold in these properties, we have it there. So what do we need on the other end? I mean, within preservation, do we need dead bodies before law enforcement becomes involved and actually starts investigating these companies? I don't want a body count. I don't. I don't support violence in no way, shape, or form. Do I condone it? But ladies and gentlemen, we have tens of millions of dollars of fraud in 2015 alone. I mean, fuck. We're still in the first month, the first third of the first quarter of 2015. I mean, this is just madness. This is simply just pure, unadulterated madness. I want to get an alert out because obviously the National Association of Mortgage Field Services regime seems to be too preoccupied with protecting its offender members to put out the information that, and remember today is the 25th of January. It is 17:22 hours Eastern Daylight Time. You are listening to the Foreclosurepedia podcast on the Foreclosurepedia Radio Network. You know, we have Snowpacolypse 2015 getting ready to descend upon New York City. Even the National Weather Service, based out of New York City, is putting out the dire messages right now. You know, they're calling for an upwards of 30 inches of snow, 55 to 65 mile an hour winds. I mean, folks, this is going to be a disaster. This is going to be an epic disaster. They got 1,500 snowplows for the 6,000 miles of roadways just within New York City. Blasio was just on Fox News opining about that out there right now. They have them staged. Blizzard warnings will be officially in effect at 1300 Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. That will be 26 January 2015. What's Miller's opinion on this? Do you think that perhaps the NAMPS regime should have sent out a fast blast to all at least its members and said, hey, look, the Northeast is going to be a disaster area. Start equipping now? Fuck no. Fuck no. You know, what was Miller doing? You know, I have my beliefs. I have my beliefs of precisely what he was doing and who he was doing it with. But those are immaterial, because what is material is that the contractors need to prepare for a double whammy. The contractors first need to contemplate whether or not it's even safe to perform these work orders up there for snow removal. You know, it's National Field Network, National Field Representatives, Assurant Field Asset Services, Mortgage Contracting Services, Safeguard Properties, et al. Are all these order mills even going to pay you for the work? I want you to picture this. You're going to be out there 72, maybe 96 hours straight, tearing up your vehicles, getting all that salt up on the metal, destroying them. And let me tell you what they're going to do. Make no mistake about this whatsoever. There's going to be chargebacks and kickbacks. The photo wasn't right, even though it was 3:08 a.m. and there was no light outside, because all we saw was white. Well, goddamn. All you saw was white. That's called snow unless you're kicking it with Chris Crandall, as I understand. Then it'd be pink because it'd be the Peruvian flake, Chris, wouldn't it? Yeah. So mark my words, those contractors who actually go out there, that's what they're going to encounter and that's what's going to happen. Then they're going to be paid for shit, as usual, or it's going to be back billed on another work order from 12 months earlier. Folks, we're at the point in time where labor needs to say, fuck it. Do it just like Nancy Reagan. Just say no. Just say no. What we need is we need a consolidation of the members of labor to boycott the work out there. We need a strike. We need a strong line. We need a picket. And as I head up to Washington, D.C. in the middle of this disaster of this snow area to begin to chronicle yet another chapter pertaining to Jeff Markey and what is going on up there in Manassas, Virginia, make no mistake whatsoever. If you're in the area, you want to talk to Foreclosurepedia, we have the ability to alter your voice. Give me a holler. That phone number is on the Foreclosurepedia website. Give us a holler on that podcast line. Say you want to meet. Say you want to talk. Bring an end to this insanity. Just say no. I want to thank everybody out there who continues to support us, to support our mission. We received $196 in donations over the past couple of months. We are greatly supportive of that. We want to extend, our appreciation out to those of you whom have. For the rest of you in the Foreclosurepedia Nation who benefits from what we do, why not click that donate button? I mean, why not? That's the question. You continue to rely upon Foreclosurepedia to bring you breaking news, information that allows your company not to be destroyed. Why not help us help you? Hit that donation button today, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. Everybody be safe out there. Foreclosurepedia Nation stands with labor. Thank you.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, you may reach me on Google Plus at D. Paul Williams, LinkedIn, Paul Williams, and the LinkedIn group Property Preservation Consortium, Twitter, Foreclosurepedia. We stream all our podcasts on iTunes, Foreclosurepedia. We have our screencasts over on YouTube, the Foreclosurepedia channel, and always at foreclosurepedia.org. We'd like to give a special shout out to Amazon.com, whom provides our S3 podcast and video storage, and Cloudflare for hosting Foreclosurepedia in 24 different geo-positioned servers, pro bono as well. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to give me a shout out, COO at foreclosurepedia.org.